Hello and welcome to today's Facecast. I wonder what burden of responsibility you carry. Most of us carry a responsibility of one form or another. It might be for our family, for our spouse, it might be in our job of work, it might be towards the community in which we live. I wonder what your burden of responsibility is and how you consider it. Is it a burden, something that you don't want but you have to do? Is it a joy? Is it a duty? Is it a reward? I wonder. It's a big question, the kind of responsibilities that we carry. I'm reading here from John's Gospel, chapter 10. Jesus is often talking to his disciples and those around him in local terms, often in farming terms, the farmer and the seed and so on. And one of the most popular and most common means of his talking about the kingdom of heaven is talking about a shepherd and his relationship with his sheep. And as part of that, in chapter 10, verses 3 and 4, he says this: "The watchman opens the gate for him," that's the sheep, "and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice." So we have this image of the farmer and his sheep, the shepherd and his sheep. The shepherd opens the gate and leads them out, and he goes ahead of them, perhaps calling, maybe whistling, perhaps singing, talking, maybe singing a psalm. And the sheep follow him because they recognize him. They know who he is. They trust him. He has responsibility for them, all of them. And he knows each one of them. And it says here, by name. Does that really mean he might know 100 sheep individually by name? Maybe he does. But he certainly knows them intimately well enough to know which ones are the ones that are likely to get lost. And they are the ones that he has to look out for. He knows which one will follow him closely and will always be there looking for comfort and a security. He knows all the different traits of his different sheep, and he knows how to handle them and how to lead them, when to feed them, when to discipline them. He knows everything about his sheep because he's with them all the time, and they know him and trust him. It's this wonderful picture of this close, united relationship. Of course, Jesus is talking about the relationship we can have with God our Father because of our relationship with Jesus, our shepherd. If we know his voice and follow his voice, we will be with him and alongside him, and he will be alongside us. How do we know his voice? Several ways. One is by reading it in the words in the Bible. By reading what Jesus says and how he talks to his people, we recognize truth. We recognize sincerity. We recognize the illumination of what it means to be living the Christian life. We also recognize it in communion with other people, in fellowship with other people, because they will say things to us that we think, oh yes, of course, that makes sense. Somebody else's wisdom or discernment will add to our understanding and knowledge and make something clearer and plainer and more meaningful. We know it sometimes because of that still small voice within us, which says, this is the way, this is the direction I want you to take, this is how I want you to deal with this situation, this is my way. It might not be the easiest way, but it's the best way. Do you recognize that voice? Is he familiar to you? Can you follow his leading? Jesus is our shepherd. He bears the responsibility for us so that we can bear responsibility for others. Bye for now.